Dr. Anderson.
Yes. Hello there, Carl. How you doing?
Here with Bob Law. Your man.
You got my hero on the other hand. Then yeah. This is like a tag team. He always sets me up, but I still love him as a friend. We've been friends for 25 years, and I lost all my friends by making him a friend. So listen, as they're doing a tag team match, now that Claud is in the corner, I'm slapping his hand, and he's taking over from here, and I've got to move on. But
Bob, before you go, how can folks reach you if people want to reach you?
Well, like the brother a little earlier, you would get leery about giving out your numbers. Because it's not essential information number, but people can email me at bob.law4@gmail.com.
One more time.
bob.law4@gmail.com. I'm not sure.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
All right, now, thank you. All right, Claud Anderson. Y'all take it from here. Thank you, Bobby. All right.
Dr. Anderson, you've been analyzing the presidential race. You seem to think that we may be backing the wrong horse. Why so?
What do you mean? I didn't know who you were backing.
Well, predominantly it looks like black folks are behind Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's up to him. I don't have a horse in that race, and I don't care who wins, whether it's Hillary or Trump or Democrats or Republicans. I don't have a dog in the race, so that's immaterial to me. I'm an independent. I've gotten withdrawn from all the political parties. But if I were speaking for the black mass in this country, and I've already put out some words in that regard, I would ask black folks to do what they've never done. This is their first and possibly last opportunity they will ever have to bring their issues to the forefront and make their issues and their interests and their needs on major items for this country. And what they should have done is instead of backing one horse or the other horse, that's foolish. Neither one of the horses ever run and done anything for black folk. Never in the history of this nation has the Democratic Party ever done anything specifically and solely for black folk in terms of delivering beneficial, tangible goods to them. So why do we back the Democrat blindly out of it? Only God knows. The same thing is true with the Republican Party. The Republican Party has never done anything specifically and solely and identifiably for black folk or did anything for black folk. They've always basically said to themselves that black folk are unnecessary, that votes are irrelevant in any election. Black folk in this country are outnumbered in voting power 9-1. Now, anybody who got past third grade in mathematics will know that 9 will go over 1 at least 9 times with nothing left over. Your vote is totally, absolutely immaterial unless it's in a highly, highly contested race and they need a small percentage or scant to vote. Whites do not lead black folk to do anything they want. Since they are the majority population and they control the politics, they can go in anytime they want to and vote in any candidate of their persuasion anytime they want to. But they use black folk like a narcotic, which means they feed them like crack cocaine and give black folk the illusion or the pretense that somehow that the black vote matter. The black vote has never mattered. If the black folk had mattered that much, why is it that you're still fighting the same issues you've been fighting for 150 years? You're still running around talking about the right to vote. Black folk got the right to vote in 1866, and that 1869 was ratified by Congress. Why in the world should you be still fighting, trying to get voting rights? Voting controls nothing. It is economics that controls politics. Politics controls nothing. It's like a sugar coat pill. It's a waste of time if you don't have the economy and power and resources behind you to back whatever a politician decides up. That's what Donald Trump keeps telling you. In this country, blacks hold less than 1/2 or 1% of wealth. You're outnumbered by white folk in all respects. The average white person has 3,500 times more wealth than the average black. I got 450 to 500 white billionaires in this country. That's who's running the country. Now, what they do to give black folks the pretense or the illusion that their vote is supported, they'll tell black folks some of these euphemisms like, well, what y'all need to do is go out and exercise your right and go to the poll. Polling, go and vote, it has nothing to do with exercise. As you've heard me say before, if you want exercise, go to the Durham gym and take out a membership and run around, jog around the park if you want exercise. You go to the poll to get benefits. Now, when did Hillary Clinton, when did Donald Trump, either one, promise anything to black folk? Hillary had been campaigning for 2 years. She has not mentioned the word black one time. Her philosophy is that this, very simply, that we promised black folk nothing. In all these years, that's exactly what we get is nothing. Up until 1950, the Democratic Party was the Dixiecrat party in the country. They'd been Dixiecrats ever since Lincoln time. They switched over from 1950 to 1960 in a 10-year period. They said they're going to support blacks. But as soon as Truman and Johnson got in and Kennedy got in office, they turned around and dropped them. And all the darn racists ran out of the Democratic Party over to the Republican Party and made the Republican Party the new white party in America. And now here comes Trump. But I have to give Trump credit for three things. If I were voting, and I'm not going to vote, and I'm not going to encourage anybody to vote, unless someone promise specifically to deliver some tangible, measurable goods to black folk. If Trump got the word, because I put out a contract saying I would be willing to use my personal profile and support base in this country to deliver millions of votes to whoever promises and deliver the most tangible resources to black folk.
All right, hold that thought right there, Doc. We got to take our last look at the traffic and weather. I'll let you come back and finish up that story about what you put out and see if anybody picked up on it. 800-450-7876. You two can join the discussion with Dr. Claud Anderson. We'll take your calls after the traffic and weather together right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is what we call him the man with a plan, Dr. Claud Anderson. Before I bring him on, let me just tell you this. If you've ever, like me, just wondered why black folks anywhere on this planet are at the bottom of the barrel, any metric that you can think of, whether it be high school dropout, teenage pregnancy, kidney disease, whatever, you name it, we're at the bottom. You need to read his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. That's a best-selling book. It tells us how we got there. Any black person on anywhere on this planet. And Dr. Anderson did one better. He wrote a plan how to get us out of it. It's called Powernomics. And before he leaves, I'll make sure he tells us how you can pick up those books. Then you'll understand the plight of black folks. What Dr. Wilson was telling us about system of white supremacy. That's what locks us in. The key is in Powernomics. But Dr. Anderson, I'm going to let you finish up what you were saying. You said you put out a call to Trump and Hillary that you would negotiate if they wanted to really deal with the black community. I'll let you finish up your story.
Right. Okay, Carl. Fine. See, back about the last of May, I put out the word to go into the selection process of the candidates and their campaign offices that I'll be willing to come out visibly and go across this country and drum up at least 1 million votes for whatever candidate promises and delivers tangible, measurable benefits to black folk. I mean, non-symbolic, intangible items will be acceptable. None of this thing about a naming a month after birthday or somebody, a black person's birthday, or Rosa Parks celebration, or Martin Luther King streets. No, I want tangible, measurable items. Black folks' problem in this country is they do not own and control any wealth or resources greater than 1/2 of 1%. That's what determines our opportunities and our equality in society, how much we own and control. And I don't want any more symbolism, intangible stuff, and symbolic stuff being suggested to black folk as rewards and benefits. So I said I drew up a contract called the Contract with Black America. And I said, and I told both campaign parties that if you come out and sign this contract, a binding contract, to deliver these specific, tangible things to black folk, I will be willing to try to drum up at least 1 million votes across this country for whoever does it. And I said, it's a binding contract. And there are 7 elements in it. And just as an example, 2 of them, I won't name them all of them. But one would be the first thing, to go back into all these urban areas where black folk are the majority population. Black folk make up 70% of all the population in 10 large metropolitan areas. That's where they are living. In fact, you go in each one of those identifiable cities and set up redevelopment banks and set up established revolving loan accounts, a maximum amount of money, let's say, of 1.5% interest rate. And the revolving funds that are subordinatable, where black folk can borrow money and build businesses in this country, and bring that and have another policy that ties into that, where you appoint an ambassador or czar over urban development for the intangible people, or the people we see as undeserved in those communities, to get to start businesses and then reindustrialize those properties and those cities. It's like a Marshall Plan, just like we had a Marshall Plan for Germany, and we had a .4 plan for Japan to rebuild those. Put those funds in there into those cities and rebuild those black businesses and bring back all those black industries that we exported to the Far East, like the shoe industry and the steel industry and all these other industries. Bring some of those industries back have joint ventures set up with black folk, black businesses in those urban cities, and so black folk can build business communities and begin to learn how to buy and support and build a tax base and employment opportunities for their own people. They can learn how to start practicing group economics. That was one of the first ones. The second one is where people hold them accountable for being able to enforce the 1866 Indian treaties, which are those are treaties or laws. They're the highest laws of this land. And the 1866 Indian treaties mandated that black Indians and black freemen and black free people be treated in all manners equal to the way so-called white Indians or $5 Indians are treated in this country. And 92% of all the so-called Indians in America that were whites passing for Indians that went onto the Dawes rolls in the 1890s and paid $5 and got their names on the rolls to get free benefits. And yet, and those treaties have never been enforced. In fact, and black folk got some of those lands and they've been taken away from them. And the reason they have not enforced those treaties is because whites came in and were very reluctant to enforce them, and Indians sent a letter to the Department of Interior saying, what can we do to shut black folk out, make sure they never get any benefits? The Department of Interior played with the letter until about 1941. Then said, what you do, you come up with a new policy that makes sure the blacks don't get anything. It's called a quantum blood law, which says that a black person can't get anything in those treaties unless they can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt they got at least 24 quarter Indian blood in them. And that was not none of those things are stipulated. There is no quantum blood law in the treaties. And in those treaties, it said about 7 things that the Indians and the federal government owed to black folk. One, that they would set all these black folk free. What people don't know is that Indians, in proportional, comparative terms, all these Indian tribes later were called civilized tribes because they owned black slaves. They owned as many black slaves as whites did. They were slave owners, slave traders, and they fought with the South to maintain slavery. So the government told them, you release all those blacks. Because even after the Civil War, the Chickasaw and Choctaw Indians were each holding 12 to 16,000 blacks still in slavery. You release all these blacks that you've had in slavery and you've ever had in slavery, and all the free blacks in your territory. You give each one of them freedom. And set 2, you give them an opportunity to join the tribe they want to. 3, you give them at least $150 in cash. 4, you give them 140 or 150 acres of land. 5, you give them access to all the resources on any reservation. 6, that you allow them to be tax exempt like you are. 7, that they can go to any school without paying tuition. 8, that they be able to have access to opportunities with the federal government to get contracts for reserved properties. Like that means anything from fishing rights to land rights to gold rights, whatever it is. And 8, they should also be able to build gambling casinos all over this country. That'll be the second one. And those are mandated laws. And the reason it's not being enforced because you don't have any blacks in elected office, from the White House to the outhouse to the black Congress, that would stand up and enforce it. And I got a white congressman that says, Dr. Anderson, you're absolutely right, but the reason they're not enforcing it and you're not getting any benefits, even though you've been in court now all these years spending all this money, is because, and you're making a little bit of headway, is because what you're fighting is not a legal issue, it's a political issue. And you do not have any black people in America, not in the civil rights organization or elected office or any place that got enough backbone and sense to go fight for their own people. They said these treaties, these black folk own billions of dollars. And the government is saying, well, if we open that up, all blacks could be able to get all these other benefits that they're entitled to. So we don't want to open any doors. But about a month and a half ago, the Justice Department had a couple of lawyers tell my lawyers that, hey, we'd be willing to sit down and negotiate on some of these things and come to some settlement. But we got to go back to our superiors in the Department of Justice and in the White House to see whether it's okay. They called back a week later and says that they were told directly not to get involved in anything that would start delivering benefits to black folk. And yet now the Indians in this country have been getting the benefits using the same treaty that was put in place for black folk for 150 years. They owe black folk billions of dollars. Every year that Obama has been in office, he's called 564 so-called white Indians to come to the White House every Christmas in December and give them benefits. He's given them $3.5 billion every year. And since he's been in office in 8 years, he's put out almost $30 billion to Indians. And the last time he gave them as many free radio license, TV license, cable system license they wanted free with no cost. And yet he's never invited one of the blacks out of my party, out of the blacks that I'm representing, not invited one of those black Indians, black freemen to the White House yet to offer the benefits to them. And yet to deny black folk the benefits. Those are just 2. Now I told the parties about the contract. I said if Clinton would come to me, or if Trump would come and sign this contract and obligate themselves and blind themselves. If they get into the presidency to take care of these black folks, I would support them and get all these other blacks I know across America to support them. And so what Trump did, Trump got the word in June, and what he decided to do just simply go public and just say I'm going to represent blacks. And he's been talking about it. He said, if I get it off, one of the first people I'm going to start supporting to try to help this country are those people that nobody's cared about for almost 500 years, that have been mistreated, abused, excluded, and outcast for 500 years. I'll help black folk to rebuild these urban cities. Now, on the other side, Hillary Clinton with the Democratic Party, with all these blacks standing behind her on TV every day, shouting and screaming and applauding. She has not once mentioned the word black nor promised them anything. And the real stupidity, Carl, is I've heard blacks say, well, Dr. Anderson, your Trump said he's going to help us, but we can't believe him. Why in the world would you not believe him saying it, but you would believe a person like Hillary who's never said anything? God knows something is wrong with our people, Carl.
Wow. 800-450-7876. I tell you what, some folks been holding for a while. I know they want to speak to you. Dale is on line one. Dale is actually calling us from Battle Creek in Michigan, up in Kellogg country. Hey, Dale, you're on with Dr. Anderson. You have a question for him?
Yes. Thanks for taking my call, Carl. Dr. Anderson, I'd like to get your take in regards to the internet and internet radio broadcasting, as far as people setting up their own internet portals organically, taking on the burden and cost of setting up situations like that, and the long-term implications of blacks having their own internet portals.
Well, first of all, let me qualify or disqualify myself in that regard. I know that I'm not fully briefed on all the various elements and variations of those kind of systems. But let me say this to you, that I would support anything for black that would help black folk consummate any kind of an arrangement where they can communicate. If you cannot communicate, you can't organize. You can't organize, you cannot mobilize. Blacks must be able to communicate. The problem you got right now, and why what you say might be imperatively important to black folk, you got approximately 12,000 black radio stations in this country, and black folk own about 70 of them out of 12,000. You got 12,000 cable systems in the United States. Blacks don't own one. You got 5,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 white national newspapers in various states and cities. Black folk don't own not one. You got 5,000 TV stations. Blacks don't own one. They must establish some means of communication with black folk, not only for just general communication and information, but for emergencies. You are going into a terrorist time when people can anytime terrorize you. They can drop in bubonic plague, any kind of various diseases. You got to be able to organize and be able to support your people and come together and be able to survive. You got to have some communication system. So if what you are saying will work, fine. But on the backside of that,
Hang on, Doc. I'll let you finish on the backside because we got to take a quick break here, right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power. Staying with us, I guess we call him the man with the plan. His name is Dr. Claud Anderson, runs the Harvest Institute. That's the only think tank that we know of that's out there trying to do things for black folks. And that's another area. And before Dr. Anderson goes, I'm going to ask you if you can help the Harvest Institute, because the only person who's putting money in is Dr. Anderson. While he's going to these other think tanks, Rand Corporation, all these big think tanks, some of them out there on K Street, they're studying us left and right. And that's why they've always seemed to have an advantage over us. But Doc, I'm going to let you finish responding to Dale's question.
What I was saying is the backside of the gentleman's question is that technology has never been our friend. We have to be awfully careful that all throughout history, technology, we've always been able to stay just one step ahead of technology. And technology come by and wipe us out in a second. That's what happened when we were the primary pickers of cotton. And when we found they invented a cotton machine that could invent 50 times more cotton in one day than the black person could. Machinery and technology took us off the elevators, took us from dishwashing and everything. Technology is not our friends. What we need to do is try to figure out how to use technology that other people created. That's what you're talking about. But more importantly, try to invent our own technology. But be careful on the backside, because what I'm saying is technology right now by our children is dumbing black folks and black children down. It is dumbing them down. They're not learning the basic elements of learning and thinking and using their cognitive styles in schools anymore. They're sitting there with an iPad or a piece of technology, not reading and writing, but pushing buttons. And that is bad for black kids. Black kids, span of time now for focusing is down to like 15 to 20 seconds. You cannot educate black folk by keep putting them in front of a machine, because the machine will eventually replace them or displace them. You'll be just like that movie Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. Technology is going to dehumanize people, and it's also going to replace people. And at that point in time, black folk will be the first ones to be wiped out, as I said a few seconds ago.
All right, 800-450-7876, line 2. Freedom's calling us from the district. Freedom, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Hey, yes, sir. Oh, man, I love it when Dr. Anderson come on. Hey, but this is a little bit of a spillover, Dr. Anderson, from Bob Law's conversation. I just hope you can feel this question, because I'm talking about the us being black folk being prevented from having access, complete unbridled access to mass media or mass propaganda. Like, obviously the United States understands how important that is for black folk not to control what the masses of black folks see, hear, and read and understand. That's serious business. It's called propaganda, and they studied other countries around the world. But my question, other countries that have used mass propaganda to control their masses and their people. But my question is dealing with the irresponsible use of social media. It came from the previous conversation. What do you know? What can you tell us? Because I was told or given some information about algorithms and how serious they are to our people using social media, and that even if you put important, serious content out about economics and whatnot, that because of algorithms, someone is able to manipulate and keep those kinds of discussions away from news feeds and whatnot, and raise quickly any old kind of nonsense that is not going to help people in general.
All right, let's see if he can respond. I guess it sounded like a technical question, though. Dr. Anderson.
I know. That's why I hesitated to ask it, but let's see what he can do.
All right, thanks, Freedom.
Yeah, I tell them I'm not familiar with all that, but if Bob Law told that, Bob Law is right on the money. What they need to do is be concerned about trying to control as much media as they can and keep it as closely contained as they can with their own people, because they can be hacked and they can put out misinformation, misdirection in a second. You have no way of qualifying the validity of any information you pick up over the air. So what I would say to black folk over and over again is what I said before in my books, is that eventually that everything's going to come down to the nitty gritty. And that means everything that is sooner or later. We're at 9 o'clock now on the development scale of man for power and wealth and resources. The next move is going to go to 12 o'clock. And what's going to happen is now that we're focusing at 9 o'clock on technology is going to fail. Technology is either going to fail or be killed off. Right now, you get a young kid, 18 years old, can pick up an iPad and in this coming winter, he can shut down your electric grid and freeze half these people to death in these large cities because they won't be able to get electricity. They can't get electricity. They can't get warmth and heat. They can't get gasoline. They can't get food. They can't move. You're becoming much more vulnerable with technology. Learn how to control technology, and most importantly, start learning about how to rebuild your own business communities where you can come together, where you can unite in a physical sense and be able to provide goods and services, products and jobs and opportunities for your own people without trying to go all around the state or all around the city. We are the only people that have no communities and produce absolutely nothing. We are totally vulnerable to terrorism or to technology failing or technology being shut down.
800-450-7876. Mr. Wells is calling from Cincinnati on line 3. Mr. Wells, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Yeah, how you doing, Carl? Hey, Carl and Dr. Claud, I think it only fair, and I'm going to get off here quickly. In December of 2014, Dr. Anderson and Claude, be my witness, I asked you to jump out there and let's run and take about 6 million of these votes and point them in a certain direction. Here we are now, Dr. Anderson. I respect you greatly. I mean, your research and to be able to put it in a digestible framework is something that as a school teacher, most of us respect. However, I respect you, and Claude, we got to keep it 100. You do have a dog in this race. And people should not get upset. When I said let's run in 2014 to point a clear direction, like right now, Dr. Anderson, I'm going to ask you to respond. This should be an economic African-American withdrawal of the ballot. In Ohio, in my city, Hamilton County, we have some money on the table. And we've missed the vote. And now I hear the great Claud Anderson trying to shift 1 million votes. Jim and Amafika doing this too. We lost something. When I see it, let's make a clear, distinct pathway for the next 6 years. Because there's a lot of local money, Dr. Anderson, that will be influenced. I heard Bill Clinton in Florida, talking about education money. We've gotten to a point where I think, and when I see it, let's do it. You said, Mr. Wells, you drive a hard bargain. I know you got friends in the Democratic Party and some Republicans. I'm asking you to support an African-American economic withdrawal with the black ballot, not to vote for any new taxes on the ballot for a new tax replacement for the next 4 years. I voted today. I didn't vote for any candidate. We have an issue 44 in Ohio, education. I voted against it. We have
I tell you what, Mr. Wells, we're racing the clock. What's your question for Dr. Anderson? What's your question?
African American economic withdrawal with the black ballot for no new tax for the next 4 years, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And Claude, I'll try to catch up with you. Economic withdrawal with the black vote for the next 3 years.
Thanks, Mr. Wells.
Tell him don't get off, Carl. Tell him to make sure that's clear now. That back in since I was the one that wrote the first affirmative action plan in the United States, besides its first Constitution back in 1971, I wrote the affirmative action plan that went all over this country, and that's been 40 years ago. One of the things I've advocated very strongly, if you go read Powernomics, you read chapter 7, it says what I advocated black folk were to withdraw from both parties. So I don't want somebody to think that somehow what I'm trying to go against my own wishes over 40 years ago, that black folk would withdraw from both the Republican and Democratic Party, create an independent party, and vote as a solid block across this country for their own candidates, but to vote for whoever promises and delivers the most to black folk. They have to go to chapter 7 and read that. Because we cannot, if you just simply withdraw and try to run your own candidates, you haven't got a snowball's chance in hell. I just told you, you're outnumbered 9-1. What you got to do is to try to be a block vote and be 43 million strong and tell the candidates, we know we're outnumbered 9-1. We don't have enough voting power to be able to put a black candidate in the office who would not be controlled by majority white society. But what we can do is offer 44 million solid votes for whoever promises the most and delivers the black vote. And that's exactly what my contract said. So let's be clear on that. Go back to Powernomics books, and you go back to 1970 and find all those things in all my books and writings. So I have originated some of those things way back a long time ago, and I know a lot of other blacks in history that also had similar points. But that's my point. So I'm not saying that you should don't just vote for Hillary or vote for Clinton. I'm saying cut a contract and make them deliver tangible goods to black folk. That's all you're ever going to get as a minority in this country, unless you're going to create some kind of revolutionary war and try to destroy everybody and take over the country. Otherwise, it won't work. You're outnumbered 9-1 in the voting patterns.
All right, 800-450-7876, line 1. Johnny's calling us from Long Beach, California. Johnny, your question for Dr. Anderson.
Hey, Doc. Hey, how you doing, bro?
Hi there.
Dr. Anderson, you said something about technology. And there was a caller from the UK that called earlier, and he was saying that, as black people, we are slow to accept technology. My thing about technology is that you don't have to get into learning about technology, but when they bring in technology, about the machine that they bring into technology, that here are youngsters to start learning how to prepare those machines. You might have robots taking over. However, you're going to have people that are going to have to fix the machines when they break. Technology comes in, it's like the Model T. We went from the Model T to the modern cars. It's going to happen. As black people, we have a tendency to lag back on it because maybe it's a fear.
Right. Put in a question for him because we're coming up on a break, Johnny.
Go ahead, Carl.
Dr. Anderson?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Let me respond to that very quickly. First of all, let him say, yes, we have technology. We have technology in the automobile industry. But the whole assembly line process that was used in the automobile industry was taken from the South with the planting system where black folk would walk into planting cotton in an assembly line fashion. And then they went to the automobile industry and got wiped out. But the thing about it is that technology is good as long as you control it. But you're saying that you're going to have that the technology has to be repaired by a human. That's not true. Soon you're going to have technology repairing technology, robots being repaired by other robots. So you're going to be taken out of the equation.
But isn't that the thing of the future that we're trying to make things more easier for people to perform and duty to perform, where the tasks are more accurate than what it's like. I'm just saying that in technology comes to the future of making things easier for people. That's what it seems that technology is to me.
I'll tell you what, we got to take a break. Johnny, I thank you for your call. I'll let Dr. Anderson respond on the other side. 800-450-7876. You too can join the discussion. We'll take your calls after this short break as the big show rolls on from the capital city on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
WOL Radio.
Thank you for staying with us, folks. Just want to remind you, geopolitical analyst Craig Hewlett will be one of our many guests this week. He's going to talk about BRIC. He's going to talk about Putin, the presidential race, the elections, all that kind of stuff. So you know what to expect. So tell your friends to keep it locked right here on 1450 WOL. Let's go back to Dr. Claud Anderson. Dr. Anderson, you want to finish up responding to Johnny's question?
Tell Jim what I was saying to him is that we have black folk have to be awfully careful and always be on guard. The technology is wonderful. It's a magnificent thing to have in many respects, whether it's science, education, or business. But for every action, it goes back to basic physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's what we as black folk we have to be concerned about, because we are never the major actors on anything. We're the reactors. That's why we're going to come up negative and lose out on everything. Now, technology is not only injurious to black folk in business, but it also is injurious to black folk in terms of jobs. Right now, our unemployment rate is just the opposite of what you hear white folks saying. White folk have a code that says that they will always make sure that black unemployment is at least double white. But right now, it is so bad, it's not double. Where they're talking about black unemployment being 16%, black employment back in 2006 was 35%, 48% in Detroit, 48% in Baltimore, 49% in Pittsburgh, and 52% in New York. Your unemployment rate is coming to a significant degree from two things: from the massive, unending immigrants coming into this country that's displacing you in jobs, and secondly, from technology that's replacing you in jobs. Black folk cannot look to be a dreamer and look through everything in technology in rose-colored glasses, but it's going to make life easier and happier and more comfortable for them. There is a negative and a backside for everything. It's going to be injurious to people, and in a society, you live in a ranking order, where white's on the top, white, yellow, brown, black, in descending order. You're at the bottom of the pile. Anything that bad comes is going to get you first, and you're going to get you worse. That's why, as Carl said initially on this program, that you're carrying 6 to 8 times your fair share of everything bad already. Just be careful on guard by people continue to introduce technology. Somebody has to suffer. There might be some good things, but somebody's going to lose out on the other end, whether it's jobs, business opportunities, or whatever it's going to be. Just be careful. That's what I'm saying to you.
Right, and Dr. Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, breaks it down, folks. You want to figure out how we're at the bottom of any metric that you can even think of. We're at the very bottom, because they figured out that somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. That's life. And they figured out they're going to win all the time, and we're going to lose. So I'm telling you, Black Labor, White Wealth is a book you need to read. You've got to read this book, and it breaks it down how we got to where we are now. And it's not just blacks in the United States, it's black across the planet. They've done this too. And the second book.
You want me to give them the telephone number how to get that information?
But let me give this. The title of the second book is Powernomics, and this is the roadmap. It tells us how to get out of it. You've got to read them in tandem to get out of that. So, Dr. Anderson, tell us how we can get the books.
Right. They can get the books two ways. The best way to do it is go to your website, www.powernomics.com, and they can order all the books and all the materials and DVDs off of it. And they can order them, what we have now is a special pack at the corporation, a special power pack, where they get all 4 of the books for $70. That's Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, and the 2 Dirty Little Secrets books, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and more Dirty Little Secrets 2. And these books are used in the colleges and elementary schools around the country. Secondly, if they want to go to the Powernomics website, they can call the main office. The main office is telephone number to order these things and get them in a day or so. It's 301-564-6075. Again, 564, I believe. 564-6075. That's the Powernomics Corporation. And you can order the materials and they'll ship them out to you overnight and get the power pack, Carl.
Right. How about the Harvest Institute? This is the
and also the Harvest Institute. The Harvest Institute. They can go to the Harvest Institute, www.harvestinstitute.org, and they can go to the PayPal and make any kind of donation based on their abilities, and to help us subsidize these lawsuits we have right now, trying to get the state, the federal government to carry out the mandates of the 1866 Indian treaties, what black folks should be getting in benefits. We've been making headway. We're currently in the federal claims court. We've been in the federal appeals court. We've been in the Sixth Circuit Court, and we're in the United States Supreme Court. These are legitimate treaties that they're being ignored because the federal government has failed to carry them out because they don't want to deliver any benefits to black folk. They figure they open the door and give these benefits based on these treaties that somehow black folk will march in and also get reparations, and that's what they're scared of. and it's a political issue and not a legal issue, but we are all getting winning steps in the court. And what they're saying, we're losing right now and going so slow because black folk would not get out, raise hell, hit. That's what they should be marching about. That's what they should be calling about. And going to the newspaper and to the television and radio stations about, tell them to enforce those 1866 Indian treaties and do some of those things I said that was contained in that contract with Black America, redevelop these urban areas and these 10 major cities that have 70% of the black population.
Right, and the Harvest Institute is the only think tank that we know of that's solely, specifically for black folks that's doing research to help us out. So, and it's a 501c, right? You can write it off your donations?
Yeah, that's right, and it's amazing that it's coming up from tax time after December 31, and black people, you won't believe, would rather pay taxes and give the money to the federal government than give them and then trying to make a donation. They can write the tax donation off of their taxes to the Harvest Institute, and we as a black think tank, the major one in the country, the only one of substance, we're running against 5,000 white think tanks that they run an average budget over $500 million and have almost 500 employees. We're running with a little small operation with very little money, just a few pennies and nickels that are given to us by the average common black across the country. None of the black entertainers and black athletes ever made a significant donation to us about anything. We've been doing it now for 20-something years, the only black think tank and one of the best noted in the country for giving information, suggestions, and solutions to black folk. And yet, we had to go almost and just ask black folk, keep sending your nickels and dimes, go to the Harvest Institute, www.harvest Institute, and you can make a donation through the PayPal system.
All right, 800-450-7876. Go to line 3. Kenny's calling us. He's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Kenny, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Thanks for having me on the show, Carl. Dr. Anderson, I wanted to ask you, all the killings that's been going on in the street, why is it that our black males still go to these NCAA schools and play basketball and football for these people? Can you please answer that?
Ask that question again. I couldn't hear you.
I said, with all the killings that's been going on, these black males still go to these NCAA schools and play basketball and football for these people. Why they still do that?
Because two things. First of all, they got contracts to do it. And secondly, in those contracts, they forbid black folk to be in line with anything that's specifically black or be an assist to black folk. That's not only just the athletes, but it's also tied into most of the actors and entertainers. They cannot identify with their own people. That is something peculiar to blacks and those businesses and those corporations. They do not do that with non-blacks. They do not demand that Hispanics and Asians or any other athletes or women don't identify with their groups. Only black folk and black entertainers and athletes are forbidden to deal with, to make contributions or support their own people, their own black communities.
All right. Thanks, Kenny. 800-450-7876, line 5. Temrar, you have a question for Dr. Anderson.
Oh, much love and respect. How you doing today, brother? How you doing, Mr. Anderson? How you doing?
I'm hanging on there. How you doing, buddy?
I think that everything that you're saying is excellent. And I think that people, it's hard for them to understand because they don't teach economics in the school system like they're supposed to anymore. But the grid going down, brother. And like you said, if you can't become self-sufficient, you're going to have a hard time trying to figure out how to wash your clothes or grow some seeds in the ground. But I do want to ask you one question, if you could, before you end this beautiful show. Can you go over, if I'm doing your program and your principles, what's those steps at the end of that book? What would I say, if you say to me, you're doing it, Timra, what would my checklist be?
That is an excellent question, and I'm sure you should have addressed that question to Bob Loggs. I'm sure Bob Loggs would have told you. But let me tell you, though, because he and I are like two twins in a pod. And that is that this coming year, in January, starting in January, we're going to have a major movement across this country to unite blacks across this country. That's going to be the impact as a result of the fact that Hillary's the Democratic Party and Trump for the Republican Party has totally ignored black folk and is committed to do nothing for them. And they're committed that comes the first of the year, they're going to focus all their time and attention on women issues, gay issues, and Hispanic and immigrant issues. But they're going to be unpleasantly surprised because we're going to have a national movement across this country. And right now we're working on that. We're going to have something like 4 to 5 million blacks in this country organized. And we're going to focus on powernomics principles. And we're going to talk when that strategies are all contained in those books. And then 2 or 3 other things that I got on websites that are coming up. And they're going to be following those things out. So when you finish reading the powernomics book, be prepared to get on board. We're going to move across this country. We're going to learn how to go back and rebuild these black communities. We're going to set up these redevelopment banks across the country. We're going to do all those things that we should have been doing years ago. We're going to teach black folk how to practice group economics and practice group politics, how to establish black independent parties that would vote as a bloc across this country. We're going to follow those principles that says don't support anybody that will not support black folk. That means we're going to renegotiate our relationships, not only with the political parties. We're going to renegotiate our relationship with all these major corporations in the country and all these other immigrant groups. It's saying that we're not going for it anymore. We're going to be an organized bloc across this country. We're going to be united in our oneness, and we're going to give them a holy hell if they're going to start doing something for black folk in this country. Because one thing that's happened now that's very important, because black folk are growing increasingly this concern in this country over the fact that integration has failed, the Martin Luther King dream has failed. You put a black man in the White House, it's delivering nothing for you. You got nothing else to turn to, as Trump said, except go back and reunite, start pulling together as a major social economic team in this country and play to win. That's what we're going to be doing.
But you know, I tell you this, they scared of Trump. You know why I say this? And I don't care which one get in there either, but my elder one Trump in there, so I go with my elder sometimes. Trump, he just wants the money. He's not like Hillary. He's a racist. Let's not get it wrong. But Hillary, like a sworn woman, she put 2 million black men in prison on her watch. What's she going to do from going from the first lady to the first lady? Oh my God, you might lock up all of us by the time. And then the women, what they going to do with all the men locked up? How many women they going to stop?
Let's give him a chance to respond because we raced the clock.
Well, let me tell you very quickly. Trump might be a racist, but Trump has never been in a major governmental office to be able to use the government to subordinate and exploit black folk. That's the only difference between him doing what he did privately as an individual versus if he get into a major office as the president of the United States. But look what Hillary has done now. See, when I ran the Democratic convention down in '89 in Atlanta, the presidential election, at that point in time when Clinton came down and we lost the election in '88, guess what? It turned right around and Clinton went out and started what's called the Democratic Leadership Council. And the whole point of it was to pull the Democratic Party away from black folk and then go back and put up the white conservatives in this country. That was the point of starting the Democratic Leadership Council. 2, he turned around and started this thing about 3 strikes that you're out, which means they can catch all these blacks who've had 2 or 3 in contact with the justice system, criminal justice system, and give them life long-term sentences. So 3, he started this whole thing about let's take welfare and reform it. And he went back and kicked all these blacks off that didn't have any other recourses for food and stuff, and kicked them off the welfare rolls. Point 4 or 5, he passed the Telcap Act in 1996 that said they were going to shut down the systems in this country where blacks own media and make it possible not that blacks can have media based on their representation and the fact that the media belongs to the public, but the fact that anybody who's got the most money in this country can own as many media outlets as they can. They can own all the radio stations, TV stations they want. And that's why we lost all of our radio stations and TV stations we had, because Clinton enacted what's called the Telcap Act. And so now all the rich people in this country got all the radio, all the TV, and all the cable, and the newspapers. So I can't think of anything singly that's any worse than what's his name, Trump has done versus what Clinton's have done.
All right, hold that thought right there. We got to run, Dr. Anderson. Stay on the line because we got some information for you. Folks, you're running late as usual. We want you to stay strong, stay positive, stay in the lights. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.